I got those right. Damn, I'm on my Britney shit. Oops, I did again.
NFL tickets available all season long, even last minute. Living Spaces is partnering with the iconic Lazy Boy brand to bring you a collection of Lazy Boy recliners that stand out from the rest. For nearly 100 years, Lazy Boy has been perfecting this. The original duo. Back in 1996, Kevin Williamson and Wes Craven unleashed something that would redefine horror forever. Billy Loomis and Stu Macher weren't supernatural entities with mythical monsters. They were just two high school kids with a grudge, a Halloween mask, and a twisted plan to avenge Maureen Prescott's affair. The genius here was making the killer human, someone you could sit next to in class, someone who cracked jokes at a party while plotting your murder. Their methods were intimate and personal. Phone calls loaded with horror trivia turning into violent home invasions. Billy's motive stemmed from his mother abandoning him after Maureen's affair with his father, while Stu tagged along for the peer pressure and sick thrills. They worked in tandem, one providing alibis while the other butchered victims with a buck 1 or 20 hunting knife. Coordination was simple but effective. Call, stalk, stab, vanish. Casey Becker's death set the template for everything that followed. Drew Barrymore's star power made audiences think she was the lead. Then Ghostface gutted her and hung her from a tree in the opening minutes. Steve Orth got disemboweled off screen as bait, his intestines spilling out while Casey watched in horror. Tatum Riley's garage door crush added creativity to the carnage, her body crunching through a pet door in a sequence that still makes viewers squirm. These weren't just kills, they were statements about subverting slasher expectations. The impact rippled through cinema, revitalizing a dying genre with self-aware commentary and genuine scares. Billy and Stu proved that Ghostface didn't need superpowers to terrify audiences, just believable human rage and a mask that anyone could wear. But here's the thing, Billy and Stu killed for personal reasons. Revenge, thrills. What happens when the motive shifts from hurt to performative? When murder becomes a bid for celebrity? That question haunted Wes Craven into the sequel, because he realized something terrifying. If Ghostface inspired copycats in the movie, what would it inspire in real life? The answer came faster than anyone expected, and it changed everything about how killers operate. The copycat seekers, Vicky Altieri and Nancy Loomis, took the Ghostface persona to college campuses in 1997, escalating the body count and the stakes. Vicky wanted infamy, planning to blame movies for his killing spree in a trial that would make him a household name. Nancy, Billy's mother, wanted revenge for her son's death, proving that Ghostface's legacy could span generations. Together, they mimicked the original murders while adding their own twisted innovations. Their evolution introduced public spectacle to the franchise. Maureen Evans got stabbed repeatedly during a stab movie screening, the crowd cheering as she died on stage because they thought it was part of the show. Phil Stevens took a knife through a bathroom stall partition, blood pooling under the door while partygoers remained oblivious. Cece Cooper's sorority house chase ended with her being thrown off a multi-story roof, her body crashing below with compound wounds. Randy Meeks, the franchise's horror expert who knew all the rules, got pulled into a van and stabbed to death, breaking the illusion that knowledge equals survival. The car crash sequence ramped up vehicular chaos, Officer Andrews getting his throat slit. Mickey's courtroom obsession and Nancy's maternal rage added psychological layers that transformed Ghostface from simple slasher to cultural commentary on media violence and fame. Their betrayal of each other in the finale, Nancy shooting Mickey to silence him, showed that even killers can't trust their partners. This entry proved that copycats could amplify the original's
terror by weaponizing public spaces and turning crowds into unwitting accomplices. The franchise had officially gone meta. Now, 2 films in, a pattern emerges. Duos, always duos. 2 killers working together, covering for each other, providing alibis. But what if that's the weakness? What if one person with the right motivation and the right tools could orchestrate everything alone? Remember that question. Because Roman Bridger didn't just answer it, he proved he'd been pulling strings since before Billy ever put on the mask. And when the trilogy reveals its architect, you'll realize every kill you've watched was part of a design years in the making. The Solo Mastermind. Roman manipulated Billy Loomis into killing Maureen Prescott and provided pointers. His motivation was pure rejection. Maureen gave him up for adoption, and when he found her in Hollywood, she refused to acknowledge him. That abandonment festered into a vendetta that manipulated Billy and Stu into starting the killing spree years earlier. Roman operated alone, using advanced voice changers to impersonate multiple people and bulletproof vests to survive attacks that would have killed lesser killers. The Hollywood setting allowed for meta horror on steroids. Christine Hamilton died from voice trickery that confused her with Cottonberry, who got stabbed after a desperate struggle involving bookcases. Sarah Darling's death amid studio props turned failed weapons into dark comedy. The fake knives couldn't save her from a real blade. Tom Prince's house explosion added fiery spectacle, deviating from the franchise's usual knife work. Roman's solo operation raises a critical question. The franchise won't answer for another decade. If one person can do this much damage alone, what happens when you give killers a decade to study his methods, to learn from his mistakes, yet to realize that the real innovation isn't working alone or in pairs, but turning the entire concept of Ghostface into a legacy project? Hold that thought, because Scream 4 doesn't just answer it, it weaponizes it. Roman's reveal as the trilogy architect reframed every prior kill as part of his grand design. The Columbine tragedy forced production to tone down violence, but Roman compensated with elaborate traps and psychological manipulation. His solo operation proved one person with the right tools and motivation could rival entire teams. The bulletproof vest trick during the climax subverted expectations again, showing that Ghostface could adapt defensive 3 films, 3 sets of killers, 3 motives, revenge, fame, abandonment. Notice what's missing: the internet, social media, the ability to broadcast your murders to millions in real time. When Scream went quiet for 11 years, the world evolved. And when Ghostface returned in 2011, the killers had evolved with it. But this time, the scariest innovation wasn't technology. It was the realization that being the victim could make you
I'm
more famous
live
than
right
being the
now.
killer. That version changes.
Yeah. But don't worry, I don't have any people watching.
Your computer? Tell them don't watch me. Yeah, tell them hoes don't watch me.
There's no one on there yet.
Oh, well, tell them hoes when they get on, don't watch me.
You want to stream on Twitch and you can start twerking for
What the hell?
Kai Cenat and
Hell no. Who is Kai Cenat? I don't even know who that is. Their name is so unfamiliar.
So, how have you been? Close the door.
I've been asleep. Hi.
Why have you been asleep?
I got home at 6 o'clock yesterday.
Where the fuck were you at?
The mall.
With what money? You steal?
The money I spent.
Okay, so what we need to do, me and you, Empress, me and you, tag team this. Ready?
Right.
So. Smoke shot across from Shotty.
Right.
We need a third person to distract. And then when we have time, we just grab them boxes of the vape pens and the vapes, right? And we just dip. Right. So, and then you pull out a fake gun. Pull out that motherfucker. I'm just joking. Wait, close the door. Ah!
These are the most disturbing crimes that happen in the cosplay community, starting with... It was supposed to be another lighting weekend at San Japan, one of Texas' biggest anime and gaming conventions. A place where fans could step into the worlds of their favorite characters. The 3-day event was held from August 29th to 31st at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center in San Antonio. However, this year's celebration took an alarming turn. Kendra Noel Manning, better known online as Cat Noel, is a 25-year-old Texas-based artist and cosplayer with more than 115,000 followers on TikTok. She's known for her vibrant portrayals of DC characters like Harley Quinn, Raven, the Joker, and Starfire. And beyond her colorful builds, Kid often uses her platform to raise awareness about cystic fibrosis, a condition she's lived with her whole life, which is a genetic disorder that mainly affects the lungs and digestive system. Through her videos of charity work, including her organization, Cosplay Care Project, she's earned a reputation for combining creativity with compassion, showing that cosplay can be as meaningful as it is expressive. Now, just 2 days before the event, on August 27th, Kid posted an Instagram update announcing her plan to attend San Japan. It was a cheerful message that captured the excitement of an artist eager to connect with fans, one that, in hindsight, made what followed even more unsettling. The situation reportedly began when a booth vendor at San Japan posted an Instagram story criticizing Gamer Subs, an energy drink brand popular among streamers and cosplayers. A comment was then posted under it that read, "F Gamer Subs, entitled weirdo." Kid saw the exchange taking place and decided to get involved. Frustrated by what she was reading, she replied to the post, allegedly writing that she would make something go off at their booth, referring to the person being discussed. At first glance, it might have seemed like a sarcastic or emotionally charged statement made in the middle of an online argument. However, more people came to see the exchange, and while some probably brushed it off as an impulsive overreaction over an energy drink, other users grew uneasy. The phrasing sounded too specific and a lot more serious than just a mere comment, and it was enough to make people wonder whether Kid was joking or if there was an actual threat behind her words. And Kid was actually arrested on August 31st, 2025. According to the Bexar County Central Magistrate, she was taken into custody not long after the incident, and records show she was initially held at Bexar County Jail, where she faced formal booking procedures before eventually being granted release on a $35,000 bail. Her freedom, however, came with strict conditions: house arrest with GPS monitoring, routine drug and alcohol testing, and a complete ban on firearm possessions. And her charge was listed as terroristic threat to impair public service or cause public fear of serious bodily injury/influence government. In simpler terms, it refers to making a threat serious enough to disrupt public order or create widespread fear. So fortunately, nothing actually happened at the convention. However, making this kind of threat is often treated as a felony level offense in Texas, so if convicted, Kid faces up to 10 years of prison. As of now, she remains under bond restrictions while awaiting further court procedure. What comes next, however, is the case where a man's obsession with heroes and villains led him to bring real weapons to a convention.
How a man with an arsenal of loaded weapons walked right into Phoenix Comic-Con.
This is a story that took place at a comic convention. In 2017, fans gathered in Phoenix, Arizona, expecting a typical weekend of cosplay and community, but one attendee had other plans. And the whole thing actually starts way back. Lead singer and composer Takahashi Reiko of rock band Lita Dark, known online by the name of Reiko Dig, first met Matthew Sterling after one of her concerts in downtown Los Angeles on July 6, 2014. They stayed in touch for a while through messages and social media. To Takahashi, he seemed like someone struggling and someone she wanted to help, especially since she also worked as a personal trainer and often guided people looking to rebuild their confidence. But everything changed just a year later. In 2015, during Anime Expo at the Los Angeles Convention Center, Takahashi began receiving increasingly disturbing and delusional messages from Matthew. Violent threats suggesting he might actually harm someone, and people being violated and murdered. Alarmed, she called the police and reached out to her friend, Sergeant Scott Nichols, of the Hawthorne Police Department in California. Scott left Matthew a warning message, but the situation was serious enough that Takahashi decided to cut off all contact afterwards. For nearly 2 years, she ignored his messages, until one day a photo changed everything. Matthew sent her pictures of his weapons, accompanied by threats to go after the police. Alarmed, Takahashi immediately reached out to Scott Nichols again, forwarding screenshots of Matthew's disturbing messages. And so Scott examined the photos and confirmed that Matthew's weapons were indeed real. Takahashi then told Matthew that he was from Arizona, and upon closer inspection, Scott noticed that one of the pictures Matthew had sent appeared to have been taken at a comic convention in Phoenix. And with this information, he immediately alerted the Phoenix Police Department about Matthew's presence and the potential threat at the event that day. Acting on the tip, Phoenix authorities quickly mobilized to ensure the safety of everyone at the convention, and so they began monitoring the event grounds and reviewing hours of CCTV footage while stationing officers at key entrances and exits to prevent any possible escape. With the help of the information provided by Sergeant Scott Nichols and Takahashi, investigators were soon able to identify a man who closely matched Matthew's description. In the footage, he was seen wearing black technical pants, a red bandana, black face paint, and a shotgun bandolier. Matthew entered the convention center and managed to avoid the venue's security as well as one of the peace bonding stations, meant for inspecting prop weapons before proceeding to the second floor. He moved freely through the crowd, unsuspected since his outfit appeared to be just another costume. But it wasn't. Matthew was quickly arrested at the convention center and found carrying 2 handguns, 1 revolver, and a 12-gauge shotgun, all fully loaded along with a combat knife, a stun gun, pepper spray, and several throwing stocks. And once Matthew was in custody, the investigation revealed just how premeditated his actions had been. They discovered in Matthew's phone calendar an entry called Kill JDF at Comic-Con. This entry made it clear that it wasn't a threat just limited to law enforcement. He also planned to kill Power Rangers actor Jason David Frank, turning what could have been an isolated arrest into a complete tragedy. During the interrogation, detectives asked Matthew about the entry, and in the footage he calmly explained that JDF referred to Jason David Frank, and he would then begin describing his twisted reason. He speaks coldly about the hatred toward the actor, calling him corrupt and undeserving of his fate. And his fixation was likely tied to his delusional belief that he was the real-life Punisher, destined to cleanse the world of those he saw as evil. And when investigators asked whether he felt any remorse if Frank had died that day, Matthew simply shows none. His tone simply stayed calm and emotionless throughout. Matthew was then charged with a long list of crimes. 1 count of wearing a body armor during a felony, 1 count of aggravated assault on a police officer, 1 count of resisting arrest, and carrying weapons into a prohibited place. And after the incident, the impact reached far beyond the courtroom. Phoenix Comic-Con quickly changed its security rules, banning prop weapons for a while, and adding stricter bag checks with more police at every entrance. Now here's the twist. As the case progressed, the court evaluated not only Matthew's actions, but also his state of mind. And after years of legal proceedings, he was ultimately found guilty except insane during his 2020 trial, meaning that the court determined that he'd actually committed the crimes, but was also mentally ill at the same time. So rather than being sent to a traditional prison, Matthew was sentenced to 25 years in the psychiatric wing of the Arizona State Hospital, where he would remain under strict supervision. But even though Matthew's acts were disturbing, another tragedy would demonstrate how lethal oversized attention can become, this time with fatal consequences.
A young man was shot by police officers in Saratoga Springs when they saw him with what looked like a samurai sword.
One of 4 children, Darian Hunt was born in Salt Lake City in 1992. His father, Marine Corps veteran Curtis Hunt, instilled in Darian the virtue of respect to authority, which Darian found admirable and inspired to be like his father. Now, due to domestic issues, Darian's mother returned to Utah after he graduated from high school, where he and his siblings were raised. And despite his upbringing, friends and family said that he grew into a wonderful person. He developed a strong interest in anime and eventually even became a cosplayer and used it as a way to step into the worlds of his favorite characters. And by then, his passion for cosplay had become a part of his daily life. So on the morning of September 10th, he went for a walk near Slum, dressed as Mugen from Samurai Champloo, a character who shared his thick hair and overall look. To complete the cosplay, he carried the character's signature samurai sword. Now around 9:30 that morning, a person called 911. The individual reports that they've spotted a man wearing a red top and carrying a sword towards a public area. To the caller, it seemed kind of weird, and the fact alone made them uneasy. And when asked what Darian was doing, they simply said, again, just walking. Shortly after, 2 police officers, Matt Schauhammer and Nicholas Johnson, arrived at the area to confront Darian. One officer asked him what was going on, and Darian responded, explaining he was looking for a ride. And when asked to place the samurai sword in the police car, Darian declined, stating, I can't do that. And when asked why, he simply replied, it's mine. At the time, Utah law did not prohibit the open carry of swords or similar weapons, and individuals were generally allowed to own and carry a wide variety of knives and swords, unless they were a restricted person, such as a felon or someone with criminal intent. And there was also no specific blade length restrictions for knife or sword carry in the state. And so given the legal context, Darian's response was reasonable. He was within his rights to carry the samurai sword openly. But despite that, the casual conversation abruptly changed tone mere moments later. What started off as a civil chat abruptly became heated. Unexpectedly, he pulled the sword out of his sheath and moved forward, bringing it in the officer's direction. So both policemen instinctively grabbed for their firearms, thinking they were in danger. And in that instant, both officers opened fire. The first shot struck Darian in the right shoulder and forearm as he turned and began to run away. And so the officers decided to run after, and Darian never dropped his sword or sheath. He ran east, then north, chasing through a retail area filled with customers, employees, and the top stop. The chase continued as officers grew increasingly concerned that Darian might pose a danger to bystanders. And even while critically injured, Darian held the sword until he fell onto the sidewalk, and only then did he release it. Paramedics were called, and the responders arrived within minutes and attempted to revive Darian, but their efforts were of no use. The officers moved quickly to push bystanders away, while confused witnesses stood frozen, struggling to process what they'd just seen. And within hours, word spread across the community, carried through social media posts and local news reports. The story was shocking and surreal. A man dressed as an anime character had been shot in broad daylight. The fact that a black kid with an afro was shot while walking down the street by 2 white officers in a city that's 96% white is deeply concerning. Edwards, the family's attorney, said, there are serious questions as to why officers were questioning him and the use of force in this situation. And as the investigators moved forward, authorities began processing the scene and collecting evidence. However, despite public outrage and questions, the officers involved were ultimately not charged in connection with Darian's death. But after the scene was cleared, Darian's body was taken for autopsy. And when the report was finally released, it revealed a chilling truth. Darian Hunt had been shot 6 times. Several of those bullets entered from behind, suggesting he was running away when the shots were fired, and the official cause of death? Multiple gunshot wounds. Jocelyn, a key witness, was in a nearby gas station and saw the officers confront Darian. She even snapped a picture. She recalled she got out of the parking lot as fast as she could. When I was passing, I saw one of the police officers with his arm extended, but I didn't see Darian again after that. Jocelyn's photo was only one of many images captured that morning. Crucially, her account showed
Carne asada is back Chipotle.
It's our best steak ever.
Fresh, no bad stuff.
With garlic,
Cumin, coriander, it's super tender.
juicy. People love it, and it's so good with our new Reg feature. You're gonna want to put it on everything. 10 out of 10. Really good.
Join ICE with bonuses up to $50,000 and generous benefits. Join.ice.gov.
These are the nuanced audio